Hi everyone, welcome this evening. I want to introduce you to 4 little characters. They're award-winning characters and they're called the Worrinots. And it's an award-winning app, and the Worrinots are in here. They live in the app, and we can go to meet them. And we've got 4 little characters that the children can talk to. We've got Rip, Stomp, Shaky and Chomp. And they've been designed specifically for primary school age children to engage with, to help them with their worries, fears and concerns, and it gives them somebody that they can confide in and that they trust in, and it becomes part of their trusted network. And the reason we designed it was to bring schools into the 21st century in the way that they capture the information that children want to reveal to you, and let you respond back to them directly if they need a response, and just reassure children that everything's okay. So, how the Worrinots works in schools. We know children worry, and we know that they worry about lots of things, and we know that they actually won't let us. They don't like speaking to us face to face. So what we've done is we've created this app for children, which is confidential for them because they have their own user login and their own account, and you can respond back to them, and it's all specifically designed for them. So they can share anything that's on their mind, whether it's something that's stopping them from learning, something that's concerning them at home, or anything like that. And quite simply, children use the Worrinots to send a message through the app using one of the 4 characters, and they, once they've sent that message through, the Worrinots then inform the staff in the school, which is a designated member of staff. And you can have as many designated members of staff as you like, and that is done by a messaging service, and you can then respond back to them through Worrinots, which is an app that you will use, that is the monitoring app that responds back to the children and then captures all of the information that you would like, particularly when Ofsted come in. So, the benefits to teachers. There's many benefits, and you can reduce the need for unnecessary paperwork and appointment systems if you use an appointment system for getting back to children. And children's worries don't always happen when it is a prescribed time for them to actually have an appointment. So sometimes, you know, it might be during a lesson or during break time and they're really worried about something, and rather than having to wait for that appointment, which can be a little bit off-putting, they can actually go straight to the Worrinots app, open up in the heat of the moment when it's all, you know, fresh in their mind, and they can actually speak to the Worrinots, and it goes directly to you as being monitoring adult. You will then be able to, through the Monitoring Whatnot app, which is here, you will be able to drill down into the specific children that you might be worried about that are using the app, and you might be able to see trends in spikes in use. You might also be able to see, you know, if there's anything that's happening at a certain time. It might be that you come up to a weekend and specific children are using it all the time because they're worried about being at home the weekend, or specifically around SATs, you know, in that time and the lead up, it's quite stressful for children. And there's also tips and tactics that the children can look at within the app, which you can give lifelong coping mechanisms, but I'll come on to that a bit later. So, other benefits for staff. You will be able to monitor the best location in your school. So when you actually install the app, you label where the device is being kept, and you'll be able to monitor whether that's a good location. If there's a specific device in a location that's not being used, you know that it's obviously not a good location. You can have readily available statistics for Ofsted inspections, which is held captured within Whatnot, and it allows you to have that information readily available, how many children are using it, how many red flag issues that come through. So if a serious disclosure comes in, you can flag that up, and then, you know, when Ofsted want to know what you're doing about your safeguarding issues, again, all of that information is captured within the Whatnot app. If children do disclose anything, then you capture that information and you don't have to actually ask the children again. So there's another benefit, and you instantly know the number of children using it, and staff can give directional instructions to children. So if there is anything that's worrying you and you want the child to come and speak to you, then you can give that directional instruction to say to the child, you must go and speak to, and name the child or the person that the child needs to speak with. So, teachers are time poor. I know that. I understand that you have a lot of work to do. And when I was teaching, I used to embrace anything that would help me, particularly technology, that would save me time. And now you can eliminate the time spent collecting little pieces of paper if you've got a worry tree or a worry book, and or a worry box. And children don't always like accessing, and they can see that somebody's put something in there. They may be worried that somebody might be able to read it. Whereas with the app, it's specifically for them, it's confidential for them, and your responses that go back to them don't have to be shared as a group. Now, although sometimes it is good to share these things as a group because it might help other children, sometimes that stops children from opening up. A paperless evidence system that can be used with children with special needs. So if children are not confident with their typing, they can actually speak to the Worrinots using voice recognition, and they can actually send in a voice recording, and then when you go into your messages and whatnot, you can see that somebody's actually sent in a message, and you can listen to it rather than having to type it in. You get immediate information. Some of you may not think that's a good thing, but you can actually see the times that it's coming in. So again, if you've got worries that children are going towards the Worrinots home time, is there a problem with children going home? I remember seeing children, in a real terrible state, getting the coats on and not wanting to go home, and it's heartbreaking, but we don't know what's going on at home, and they're not ready to tell us, but we know that children like speaking to the Worrinots, and they're ready to open up to them in their own time. And what we're aiming to do is reduce the long-term number of long-term mental health issues that are out there. We know that it's on the increase. We know that lots of children are suffering, and we don't want children to grow into adults with deep-rooted issues. So if we can actually get to them at a young age and use the worry tips that are held within the app to actually create a whole school environment where children are able to learn the language around worries, fears, feelings, and understand what they are. Because I remember going, when I was in infant school, I remember Sunday night laying in bed thinking, oh my God, I feel sick. But I didn't know it was because I was a little bit anxious about going to school on Monday morning. And I didn't like going to school until I changed class. And I didn't actually tell my parents, but I laid in bed thinking, I really don't want to go to school and it's making me feel sick. But if children understand what it is that they're feeling and why they're feeling like that, then it can give them a little bit more encouragement to actually take ownership of it and be autonomous over what they're feeling and be in control. We don't want them to grow into adults where nobody's taking any notice of them. They've got these deep-rooted issues, and it's really heartbreaking when you pick up the phone. When I was in a college and pick up the phone on a Monday morning and a parent says, oh, Tracy, really sorry, but so-and-so, my daughter isn't coming in today because she's in hospital. She tried to take an overdose. We didn't see the signs. We didn't see the signs in the college. And if there's something there that we can do for them, if we can hit them at the younger age, get them into the mindset of, yeah, it's okay to speak out. Yes, it's okay to feel down a little bit, but we need to actually educate them on the language and the understanding around feelings and emotions. So within the Worrinots app, there is tips. We've got some worry tips, and I'll show you where they are. They're up here. You probably might not be able to see them, but there's different categories. We've got abuse, different types of abuse, whether it be mental, physical, anxiety, even children when they're wet in the bed. Some children think, oh my God, it's only me, and they probably don't understand that it might be actually a medical condition rather than just anxiety. Bullying, obviously there's lots of bullying that goes on. Families, my body, children are documented that they're obese, and every child is different. And you know, we need to actually let them realise that it's okay to be different. And there's just other things like panic attacks, you know, encouraging them to speak out if they're worried, and give them a good, you know, encourage really positive well-being with children. Now, Oliver's asked me what the 4 characters based on, and 2 of the characters' names, which are Stomp and Rip, they are based on methods that psychologists suggest children use as coping mechanisms. You write it down and you stamp on it something, you know, to get rid of your worries, or you write it down and you rip it up. And you know, we didn't just pull these names out of the hat. We actually consulted with a clinical psychologist, and the worry tips have actually been co-written and verified by a counsellor as well. Eva, yes, there is a cost to the app. For schools, it can be as little as £2.92 per child per academic year. Now, we know that if you're a big school and you've got a lot of children, it can be expensive, but we do cap it off at a maximum amount. But there's a minimum of 50 users. And as I say, that works out £2.92 per academic year per child. So it's not a lot. It's not even the price of a school dinner. There is a home version as well. You can download it from the App Store. It's available from the App Store, from Amazon. So if your school is using Kindles, then you can use them on Kindle, and it's also available on Play Store. Now, children will use the app on a tablet device, and for the home version, parents will probably put Whatnot on a mobile phone, but for school staff, we know that they probably wouldn't want to take it home, and if they don't have a school device, a mobile phone, then you can also put Whatnot onto another mobile device, and you can keep that separate from the children so that they obviously don't see anybody else's messages or profiles. So it doesn't matter if your school is using Apple, or if they're using, and you know, you've got other devices that staff are using. Worrinots works on any of the devices, and it crosses over, so you've got a QR code that connects them, so there's no concern that, oh, we've only got Apple tablets and I've got an Android phone. You can use the 2 together. So having spent 20 years in education, I understand fully the impact of being really busy, being time poor, as I've said, getting to speak with children. I know that that time is really tight now. And it's just about giving children what they have highlighted that they like, because, you know, the NSPCC have said that more children are getting in touch with them digitally. They're not picking up the phone, so they don't want to hear somebody's voice. They're just happy to speak over an email system or over an app. So what we've done is we've just tapped into the demand that children are expecting from us. So if you've got any other questions, you can get in touch with us via Twitter. We have got a Twitter page, which is just Worrinots, and Facebook page is Worrinots, so you can follow us on there, or you can get in touch with us through our website. So I've got another question from Sally. So is this aimed at parents as well? Can parents sign up? Yes, it can be used in the home and it can be used in schools, but the 2 are not connected. So whatever messages are coming through in the school, stay in the school, and if you've got a home Whatnot device, then it is purely for the home. So the 2 are not connected. So you're not going to get a teacher that's going to suddenly get a message at midnight because they're using it at home, unless a child takes the device home and the teacher takes the device home and she's monitoring it. Okay. So the home version and the school version are completely separate. So it can be used at home if you've got children. And the home version is £1.29 a month, or it's £9.99 for the whole year. So it's a little bit more expensive than the school version, but then that allows us to actually keep the app up to date, make changes that might be needed, or, you know, if you come back to us and say, we'd like to have some different information put into the worry tips, then that's not a problem. We can actually do that as well. So that's why we try to keep the cost down for schools, and also for parents, really, because £1 for £1.29 a month is really not a lot of money for a child's wellbeing. So we have a competition for you, and if you want to get your children involved in thinking about education around worries, what they might think they are and how it might feel about anxiety, we are going to run a competition that is going to run until the 29th of June, and the prize is you can win a year's subscription for your school. So what we want you to do is we want children to think about what is worry, what is fear, and what is anxiety. And as I said, when I used to lay in bed, I used to get feelings in my stomach. Didn't really know that it was called butterflies, because, you know, at 5 and 4, you don't really understand what that is and why it's there. So what we want to do is we want to get them to think about, what does fear feel like? Draw it, okay? Get them to draw what anxiety might feel like for them, or what worry might feel like. And, you know, children are really creative and they're going to come up with some marvellous ideas. And what we would like you to do is email in their pictures. We don't want their names on them, we just want the name of the school and the age of the children. Obviously, we are fully aware of the new GDPR, so we don't want children's names, but if you can send in their pictures, and if you email it into noworries@worrinots.com, and I can put that up here for you, so you can send that in. And as I say, we are going to be running the competition until the 29th, Friday the 29th of June. The best picture will win a year's free subscription, so you can start your new school term in September with the Worrinots in your school. And I know that children are really creative, and if there's more than one winner, we will nominate more than one school. So we're not just going to say there's only going to be one school. So get your children working on that. I have another, they usually say they have a tummy ache. Yeah, that's right, they usually say they have a tummy ache, but they don't understand why they've got that. So this gives them that little bit of understanding. When you, in the worry tips, you've got a whole list of different, if I actually go into the worry tips and show you, you've got a list of things that they are worried about, and it tells you what might cause it, how it's going to make you feel, and what you can do to help yourself. So when you've got this, you can actually use the worry tips as a whole school PSHE curriculum, and you can start the language of understanding, you know, anxiety, how it's going to feel. And I missed at the beginning, how does it work for children? Okay, there aren't any games, and it's for primary school age children, Rachel. I hope that helps you. You could, I mean, we are thinking that maybe we might put some word games, some word association games within the app, but that would be a little while down the line. So, as I say, you can use the PSHE curriculum based on the worry tips, and that won't just benefit the children, that will also benefit the staff. Again, particularly coming up to SATs, end of term stresses, coping mechanisms, and these coping mechanisms are not just going to be for whilst they're in school. Hopefully they're going to be lifelong coping mechanisms that are going to equip these children to go through life and be well-rounded children, you know, and grow into really well-rounded adults. So, as I say, if you've got any more questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you want to email us or contact us through, yeah, it's really good for transition. Thank you, Debbie. When children are changing schools, we actually, part of our research that we did, we used it in a, we didn't realise it was a children's home. They were using it, and the children were, there was a couple of young children, and I had a very anxious person on the phone on Monday morning. She said, the Worrinots have stopped working and my children are desperate to speak to the Worrinots. So I said to the receptionist, well, can you ask her just to sort of, you know, let us know if she wants a subscription, because she'd used her 2 months free trial. And she said she can't. So I said, okay, I'll speak to her. And I spoke to her, and I didn't realise when I gave her the app for free that they were a children's home and they were due to close down. So the children were making really, really big transitions. They were being moved from up north to down south of the country, and the children were desperately speaking to the Worrinots because that was a really big transition that they were making. And again, you know, even moving home, getting a new brother or sister, parents falling out or getting a new step parent, even moving house, going up into a junior school, or, you know, making that transition into secondary school. It's really big issues for children, and we understand that. But, you know, for children, not everybody copes with it really well, and this is just something that they can actually connect with. And as I said at the beginning, it can become part of the child's trusted network. Each character comes with their own little poem, and it's relevant to their name. And when the children have sent off their message, then a little animation comes in to say that this is how I've dealt with it. And it's just that little bit of humour to take that initial fear away for the children. We know that it doesn't take it away, but it's something, that instant gratification that the youngsters actually look for now. And then you can respond back to your children and give them that reassurance they need. So that's us at the Worrinots. As I say, we are award winning. We did win Children's App of the Year last year at the UK App Awards for Education and Children's App. So we are really proud of that. And I hope you've enjoyed this session this evening and it's been useful for you. As I say, if you do have any other questions, don't be afraid to get in touch with us, either via Twitter, Facebook, or on the website. And I look forward to seeing your children's pictures coming in to start the competition off. And hopefully one or maybe more than one school is going to win a brand new subscription for September. So you can start your new academic year off with the Worrinots in your school. Okay. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Okay. Have a good weekend, rest of it, and back to school tomorrow. Thank you.